guys, we have just finished leveling up the party to level 8, but it is time for another edition of These Motherfuckers Get to Experience Side Plots and Their Downtime. Now, you guys have just come back from probably not your best days, because you know, did fight a monstrosity most people really wouldn't want to meet, and also you had to try and murder Granimus and rescue a bunch of traumatized people. So I imagine that your downtimes aren't quite as happy as they maybe usually are, but maybe I'm wrong, and you guys are just like, okay, I need to chill out as much as possible. So the question now is, who is going first? Who would like to take their downtime segment first?
Not me.
Not me. Not it.
Not
Zig.
She said Nami. She said
Oh,
Nami.
she said not me.
She said Nami.
No, I said not
What,
me.
like a fucking Pokemon?
Yeah, she did.
You guys are the worst.
I volunteer, Remiel.
You gotta do the gym teacher
All right,
thing.
Remiel is going to volunteer.
Remiel usually volunteered to go first.
All right. So Remiel has been volunteered to go first, and I have to ask: once you get settled back in Shadowbrooke, and you have your week or two to kind of chill out, what is Remiel doing?
Well, Remiel, the first thing that he wanted to do was he wanted to have that little meeting with Captain Arl to discuss the state of the Shadowbrooke City Guard.
Yes, indeed. So, usually he is stationed along the southern wall of the town, leading out into the wilderness. But you may also be able to catch him at the guard tower, which is where the Shadowbrooke City Guard is more or less located.
Remiel will probably head for the tower. He's just gonna assume that he'll be there since that's the main HQ.
Yeah, you head there a little later in the day. Let me find actual music to put on. Fucking, where is it? There it is. There we are. All right. So, the watchtower is located pretty close to the marketplace, where you guys originally, came in and found the Wormcrusher Adventurers Guild, and where you guys ran into the Downpour Bandits that were, kind of sneaking into town, being thievy little boys. The tower is not like the kind of like soaring architecture that you would see back in Silvery Moon. It is only a little bit taller than the other towers that line the edges of the city wall. And it's not really grand in any sense.
Well, is it the tallest building in Shadowbrooke, technically?
It is not. The upper floors of some of the manors in the Guildmaster's district do outshine it by just a little bit. But it is relatively close. So, it is, as I said, not like particularly fancy as compared to the Silvery Moon Watchtowers, which, put a lot of emphasis on, hey, these are the protectors of our city. They should, be seen as these shining figures of justice, that sort of stuff. This is utilitarian.
being that meaning?
It's a lot more plain than elven architecture.
Okay, I thought you said in general. I didn't know you was talking about the building.
Yeah. Inside isn't particularly different. It is still relatively sparsely decorated. There are a couple of banners strung around, just sort of carrying the town flag. A couple of weapon racks containing short swords, a couple bows. You know, the sort of things that would be necessary to arm and mobilize a town guard, including a map of the town hung on one wall.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, Captain Arl is talking to a woman dressed in the kind of guard outfit that you have seen Pippin and Arl himself dressed in before. Uh, just kind of going over like patrol routes and stuff like that. But you have sort of just major entrance. What are you doing?
Well, Grimbiel will probably make his presence known, but will not interrupt their conversation. Could he tell like what like is being talked about from where he's standing?
Yes. If you would like, you can eavesdrop a little bit. That will be a perception check.
Mhm. Perception.
Can you perceive?
Mm.
You like cock a little ear towards it, and as far as you can tell, it's nothing really special. You catch some murmurs about uh, like Odalon Manor in the Guildmaster's district, but beyond that, it's pretty pedestrian stuff. Just talking over, okay, I need you to go here, here, and here.
Mhm.
Arl, because I imagine you like clear your throat to get his attention.
Yeah.
Just
like.
he looks up from the conversation for a moment and gives you kind of a appraising squint, like, do you need something right now, or okay, you don't. I'll talk. And he turns back to his conversation, finishes that up in about a minute, and finally you are given his full attention.
Mhm.
Knight of Vandria, how may I help you?
Yes, I was hoping to have a short talk with you about your god. I believe I brought this up shortly before me and my partners left for our mission.
I do remember that you were concerned about the town guard, as it were.
Yes.
I would like to mention that Arl is. He's standing in that sort of like military officer style where he is this close to clicking his heels together. Like, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like, hands behind the small
Yeah.
of his back, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, he's at attention.
Yes, he is at attention. Exactly.
Yeah. It's funny compared to Remiel being a bit more laid back
A
in
little
his
bit.
posture than usual. Like he does stand up straight and everything, but he is not stiff as a board.
Yeah, this dude is absolutely stiff as a board.
Yes. I suppose you don't mind if we take this conversation somewhere more private.
I'm not candidly sure what the requirement for it being private would be, but if you insist.
Well, just to ensure that there are no interruptions.
enough. And he gestures to a set of stairs leading up to the next level of the Shadowbrooke guard tower. Just sort of starts off towards them without really waiting for you to follow along. Um, Upstairs, there is indeed a sparsely furnished office, which has a pretty prodigious and well organized assortment of papers and stuff on the desk on the far side of the room. He heads over to the kind of like it's not shitty, but it is middling as far as the desk goes. Like it's not this finely engraved piece of work. It is, you know,
it's a desk. It serves its purpose.
It's got varnish. That's about it. He slides in to the other side, gestures for you to take a seat on the hard-looking stools in front of him.
Remio will sit on the stools to be kind.
It's stiff. It is uncomfortable.
He'll bear it. Hope you don't mind me asking, Captain Arl, but how long have you said you've been captain of Shadowbrooke City Guard for? How long?
For the last 15 years.
Say. Has the guard changed significantly during those 15 years?
Unfortunately, somewhat. There have been a number of budget cuts, but I've been keeping it together as best as I can in the meantime.
Well, I can't say that you're not trying your hardest to keep everything afloat.
The squint that he's been giving you like narrows a little bit.
Where does the funding for the City Guard usually come from?
The mayor determines funding based on need and prior performance, and unfortunately, because there have not been quite as many threats within the town as without, there has been a preference for funding the Adventurers Guild rather than us.
I see. I mean, I was just taking a moment to kind of sort of think. Like, he almost wants to choose his next words carefully. Like, he doesn't want to, like, come off as, like, very judgmental or, like,
this dude,
want to come in to criticize, him for stuff that he can't really control.
Yeah, he has the sort of look on his face that suggests that he's also currently thinking, choose your next words carefully. Don't criticize how I have run this.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry if it takes me a little bit to kind of like figure out what to say next.
No, it's perfectly all right.
Yeah. Captain, do you think that have you ever considered the possibility of forming a more unified force alongside the Adventurers Guild with the City Guard?
Currently, the jurisdiction of the city guard of Shadowbrooke only extends as far as the walls. And that means that every time one of the problems that takes place in our city goes outside the walls, it falls to us to provide the contract necessary to get the Adventurers Guild off their asses.
Right. That would explain why you came in with the missing persons reports.
Precisely.
Hmm. And it also seems as if there's not many people enlisted in the city guard. How many? How many do you have enlisted?
A total of 7 at the moment, which means that aside from the postings at each of the gates, we are undermanned to take on the various threats that form inside the city's walls.
Can Remiel roll anything to sort of like enlighten like a bit of like of his experience and his knowledge of like what a city guard should be, considering his family's past in Silvery Moon?
Absolutely. I'm going to say that roll me a history check, and we'll see how good it is. You will get something regardless, though.
Okay, there's a 0 with it, but we'll give it a shot.
Hey, 15
Okay,
ain't bad.
that's not
Uh,
bad.
you remember the Silvery Moon Guard, which is pretty much one and the same with the Order of Vandria. The Order of Vandria specifically serves as a bulwark of protection for elven lands because elves, as like a society, kind of have a notorious reputation for being flouncy, slightly unreliable, and kind of emotionally driven.
Mhm.
And generally, those aspects do not a great town guard make. The Order of Vandria is kind of dedicated to denial of those aspects and trying to protect the people who do live like that. So you're pretty familiar
Mhm.
with how Silvery Moon's Guard was organized, and it was a highly regimented force that was maybe a little excessive at times, because generally when the Order of Andrea wasn't being called to, uh, go protect some other elven holding, there were a lot of them in the city, and all of them were considered active duty. So you had patrols coming through some areas of the city multiple times a day, just sort of keeping an eye out. It was well policed. Little, little creepy at times because you do have the aspect of, oh, there are guards just all across the city at all times, but it was still enough to keep crime in Silvery Moon to an extreme minimum.
And that is with like the combined efforts of like Silvery Moon's Guard and the Order of Andrea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because what Remiel's kind of going through in his mind is just kind of like trying to draw some form of parallels between um, how that system works and how he could possibly, or how something like that could possibly work in a place like Shadowbrooke.
The kind of like parallel that I think you're kind of going for here, which is the Order of Andrea and the Silvery Moon Guard, to the Adventurers Guild and the Shadowbrooke Guard. It's not bad, but especially with that history check, you know that it mostly worked because the Order of Vandria is an extremely disciplined fighting force of paladins and the like that worship literally the goddess of vigilance. And the Adventurers Guild isn't that.
No, it is something much different.
Yeah, it is a loose conglomeration of freelancers, pretty much.
Yeah. So Remiel's kind of, having those thoughts in his head for a little bit, and he stands up from his stool and is, he's kind of standing. He's now like, if a bit more like at attention, like the way like that he's standing, like is just very much. It's a bit more inspired. I guess it's one way to describe it.
Okay.
Captain Arl, if you would not mind me asking, but I would like to help you with your efforts in the city guard. I think there's a lot of potential for it to be much stronger than it is right now, and by helping increase the efficiency, getting new enlistments, and helping provide a safer haven within Shadowbrooke, then there's a possibility that the budget cuts that you have been experiencing will cease to be.
Can you make me a persuasion check?
Mm-hmm.
Because this guy, he is the sort to kind of like what you're saying, but he's also very wary and you get the feeling doesn't super like adventurers.
Yeah. Shit.
Now, son, it's going to take a lot more than one blue vigilante running around the town trying to solve all the crimes that we can't to change the mind of the higher-ups. Sulzbach is sitting there in her manor going, oh, the town guard, well, they just can't do their jobs. They need the Adventurers Guild to come in and save them. So what would it say if one of the Adventurer Guild comes in and tries to save everything around us? Whether they need it or not.
Perhaps not directly myself. However, if I were to bring in people in Shadowbrooke that are willing to enlist into the city guard and possibly train them myself before joining, and they are within your ranks, and they are posted within the guard and perform their duties very well, then perhaps the mayor will think that perhaps the mayor will reconsider their stance on how the city guard functions.
Arl has a kind of like Clint Eastwood sort of jaw. Not with the full 5 o'clock shadow or anything, but that very square jaw. And as you continue talking down this line of reasoning, he just sort of like rolls it from side to side, kind of not grinding his teeth, but definitely somewhere between thinking it over and bristling under the assumptions that, oh, he needs help from some adventurer to come get things going again.
Yes.
Make me one more persuasion check. This time it will be with advantage.
Hell yeah. All right.
17.
Hell yeah. I have 3 names that come to mind that I think would be perfect to help the city guard. 2 of them being the missing persons that we had referred to earlier. Elise, or Elsie. Elsie, that was her name. Sorry. Elsie Earthbirds. She may look unable to handle herself. She's missing an arm and everything, but the intimidation that she carries within herself, the way that she just her presence alone, I can tell can send chills down the spine of any rogue that would dare to try and rob any of the higher sorry. Could intimidate any rogue within
Your high
within the
praise
walls of
aside,
Shadowbrooke. Yeah.
who else do you have in mind?
There is Immerin, the orc that was also kidnapped. He is someone that I can tell just from looking at him, he desires a new purpose in life. And I think that giving him a chance to defend a place that he calls home, with enough of that motivation, he can turn into a very fine god.
And the last one?
The last one that's coming to mind for myself would be Krista Hildebrandt. Now, I know that she's having thoughts about becoming an adventurer herself. However, I think if I'm able to talk with her, I could convince her to, possibly before she considers going off adventuring, that if she has experience within the Guard, taking orders, helping the people of Shadowbrooke, the place where she lives, that she calls home, I think she'd be very interested to take that position. And especially considering her family's background, I think she'd be
Arl
indisposable.
holds up a hand. I would like to. He moves his hand to like rest against his forehead. I would like to clarify what you're trying to sell. You're telling me that the best additions to the Shadowbrooke Town Guard, this proud institution here, would be a barbarian, a habitual drunk, and a kid. The kid of one of the scariest noblewomen in the city, and if anything happens to said kid, it will most likely come down even worse on us than it already is. Is that right?
If you're putting it that way, it's making me think as if you have no confidence in this plan. But is there any other alternatives that you have in mind, Captain Arrow?
That is going to be a persuasion check again.
No
But I like
advantage
where
on
you're
this one?
going.
Do I not get advantage on this one? Or?
This is not advantage now.
All right.
14. The current plan is to keep doing as we've been trying to do. Keep as many people as we can find around here safe and handle what we can handle. Right now, we're investigating over in Odalon Manor, making sure that he stops crying about some break-in that happened recently. We deal in small crimes around here. Crimes that don't generally involve gallivanting off into the woods and taking down some necromancer or And he starts just like vaguely gesturing in midair for
Yeah.
some ridiculous zombie jester.
Forgive me for this for forgive me for what I'm about to say, but said zombie jester was allowed in the walls of Shadowbrooke by your god. A problem that would not have needed the Adventurers Guild to solve if more. Trying to find the words. Remiel's not pausing, but it's just me,
Yeah,
trying to
I get
think.
you.
A problem that would not have needed assistance from the Adventurers Guild if there was a more aggressive check-in system in place.
He's definitely not happy with you bringing that up, like at all.
Yeah.
He kind of like clenches his jaw and leans forward in his seat. So what? I should search every single person who comes through here? Sulzbach is already on my ass because she thinks that it is too much to keep a ledger of everyone coming in and out of the town.
Well, it's clear that she may not have the same level of care for this city as you do. I can
Cares
tell
about
you
the
take.
commerce, the tourism. You lot riding into town on your high horses and your holier than thou attitudes, thinking you know how to run the place. She wants more of y'all.
Well, I think she'd be very permissed to find that perhaps some of the finest people within Shadowbrooke are not the people who come in and out every day, checking into inns and fighting off whatever dangers lie outside these walls. But perhaps Shadowbrooke's best qualities come from the people that live here every day and keep the city alive.
He flares his nostrils and kind of looks down his nose at you a little bit. Can you roll me insight?
Mhm. Okay.
This is not a look of him being angry. This is a look of, all right, where are you going with this?
The three names that I described to you, yes, they are very. Let's just say that
Motley.
Motley, no traditional god would ever even consider taking them on. But that is what makes them perfect for this. They represent Shadowbrooke. Shadowbrooke is supposed to be a place where anyone of any background can come and live and support the city and just be a part of a community that is united despite how they look, despite how they act, no matter who it is, be they an orc, an elf, a human, an halfling, a tiefling. They are welcome within these walls, and they are willing to look over and protect one another. And I think it would be perfect for this city guard to be as diverse and as willing to defend this city as a shopkeeper.
He leans forward a bit again, this time resting his elbows on the desk in front of him, and gives you a steely look. There is a
And
silence that persists for like 10 to 15 seconds, and it's a little uncomfortable. But finally, he starts speaking again. You have 7 days to scrape those potential recruits together. Bring them in, get them trained, make sure they know how to hold a sword the right way around. And then you can show me how this idea of yours works out.
I'd be very glad to. But I have one condition.
Go ahead.
I want to ensure that you are as serious about this as I am. That when I finish training these 3 to the best of my ability, and I hand them back to you, that you do not waste their potential. That you take advantage of the gifts that they have. And you make them into the finest gods that this city has ever seen.
I ain't about to squander, good man.
Then I have your word?
He pauses, but finally his arm does rise and he outstretches a hand across the desk. You have my word.
Ramiel gives a very confident smile and shakes his hand.
He has a very firm handshake. He's got a fucking death grip handshake.
Can Ramiel outfirm his handshake?
Make me a strength check. You hear a little crack as he pops one of your knuckles in the process. You made some good points about leveraging the populace of Shadowbrooke to take care of its unique needs. So, if you're going to come in here and give me all that bluster, try and sell me on this idea, I expect you to go out there and I expect you to do it.
And I will do so.
I'll be impressed if you do. And he releases the handshake, and your slightly crumpled hand, and nods back towards the stairs and sits back at his desk.
Yes. Thank you for your time, Captain.
Dismiss, sir.
Ramiel gives a very nonchalant salute and will leave the office and the tower. And he will, as soon as he can, start rounding up those people.
Congratulations. You have gained the side quest to basically revitalize the Shadowbrooke Town Guard. I'm going to say that is going to have to wait for a side quest session after the upcoming April Fool's one. But I do like it, and I do like where that's going.
Mm-hmm. I am very excited to hear this goes.
Yeah, that was some choice roleplay. This is something I generally forget to do, but you actually pulled off some pretty solid reasoning to give you the inspiring speech feat there. That was actually some pretty good stuff there. I will give you a point of inspiration.
Yay!
This means that you have a floating reroll that you can apply to just about anything, including other people's rolls. So, is there anything else you want to do with your downtime?
For the moment, probably not much. He might write a letter a letter to his mother, um, and actually kind of also mention like the task he has taken on with the city guard. Either that, or I was also thinking, can Remiel basically kind of like leave him like ask Vandria to kind of like leave a message for his
Leave
mother
a
to
message.
leave him, yeah, just whenever like Vandria like kind of sees his mother again or like visits her dreams, if she like does the same like with him, to like reassure her that like that her son's doing okay, that he's taken on like this you know this this new self-imposed mission to
I can't
help people out.
say that I expected to hear you ask like, "Hey, can I have this god be my courier?" Basically. um,
He usually wouldn't do it, but maybe just this one time.
yeah, it just asking for a favor, and I
Asking for
kind of
one
like
little
it just for the
favor.
gall of it, but yeah, I'll allow you to ask her, um, because you are going to be talking with her soon.
Hmm.
Because with your downtime over, it is time for the side plot.
Yay.
So, remind me, how exactly does Remiel get ready for bed, especially like after his kind of excessive run-in with the undead recently?
Uh, Remiel will kind of take a little more time with his prayer, kind of make it have like a bit more like um because I guess because like like how Vanessa kind of like does like her thing of just like like there's kind of like a whole like thing to it. Usually Remiel wouldn't um be so like
Rigid.
I don't know what the rigid with like the way it's very much just kind of like it's like a prayer before bed he kind of does usually, but considering recent events, he does kind of um, have like a more dedicated um, method of like doing things. Like he's like on his knees, he's sitting in like complete darkness. I don't know what like I don't know what like the usual like what like the usual like whole setup for like a prayer to Evandria it is, but like he's kind of getting more like in the zone with it. It's the way of
Yeah.
like putting it.
Generally, there is a small set of Vandrian prayers that you kind of say before bedtime. Generally, asking her for the protection of your loved ones, for the vigilance to do what needs doing in your life, that sort of stuff. You know, religion.
Mhm.
Um, this time, you probably do like the full set as opposed to just the I say the bare minimum, but what I really mean is like the kind of cut down version that you wouldn't really hear out of a. You would really hear more outside of a cathedral because the full spectrum is more like a you're in church sort of thing.
Yeah.
So you do the full rundown of Vandrian prayers, and after that, you go to bed.
Mhm.
You doff your armor, you rest your great sword and your shield up against the wall, and you get some sleep. That night, in your dreams, once again you are taken to Silvery Moon, though this time it is not the great hall that kind of stands as the entrance to the Order of Vandria's whole citadel there, or the ruins of the invasion of Silvery Moon that took place a couple centuries back. This time, you are instead in the kind of proving grounds arena that you were in when you originally took the test to become a Knight of the Order of Vandria.
Hmm. Rumiel sort of looks around, like almost kind of caught a bit off guard. It wasn't what he was expecting. But is there anything like different from the arena as he from when he last was last there?
Well, there is one major difference, and that is that you are not in the pit, you are in the stands.
No.
Kind of just watching as two young elven men do the same sort of trials that you partook in during your initiation.
Mm-hmm.
And next to you, not far down the hard, flat surface that is this kind of like weird version of stadium seating,
Right.
you see who else but your god, Vandria Gilmadrith. This time she is not wearing her helmet. She's letting her skin show. She is letting her long white hair flow out. And she is watching intently as the young men below compete to see who has what it takes to get into the Order of Vandria.
Mm-hmm. Can Remiel roll perception to see if he may know who these two people are that are fighting?
You can go for it, yeah. 15 perception ain't bad. So you take a harder look at the pair as they go about the trials, and you don't recognize them really, but you faintly recall them. They are roughly around your age, and you're fairly sure that you have seen them before, just sort of going around the city of Silvery Moon. They are another contemporary pair of entrants to the Order of Vandria. So this seems like it's happening either right now or not long after you left.
Remiel will then look over. I guess Vandria is sitting next to him.
A little ways down, like 2 or 3 seats down.
Remiel will just do a small bow from where he is sitting. It's good to see you again, Your Grace.
You as well. I wish to ask you, Testament, about the encounter we had last time, the lessons I attempted to impart to you. You understand more now, yes?
Yes. I now understand the words you were trying to... the words you wanted me to reflect on. And...
Go ahead.
Yeah, so... And... to be fairly honest, I'm not certain if I really succeeded in... Not really sure if I succeeded in... Yeah, trying to find the words.
Take your time.
I'm unsure if I properly succeeded in what you set me out to do. The person that you're referring to had escaped.
What I wanted you to see with this unfortunate event that you were party to, what I wished for you to see here was a reinforcement of what I mentioned. The fact that it is terrifyingly possible for someone we believe to be pure and just to be neither of those things in reality. She looks back off down towards the pit where the two boys are currently doing that one competition to find gemstones within the rubble. Vigilance is my portfolio, specifically because of situations like this. In a society where indulgence and happiness is the norm, it is far too easy for people to assume and to grow comfortable with how things are, without any thoughts towards how things may become in the future, or the harbingers thereof. Gremnus, this necromancer, he took the guise of a priest of Ilmater. Is this correct?
Yes.
And upon your first meeting, you believed him to be a, well, genuine cleric. A proper figure attempting to help the poor.
Yes, I seemingly had no reason to doubt his intentions. But I see now that my assumptions were wrong.
Assumptions can cost you. But what I wish to impress upon you today is that no matter how late into knowing someone they begin to show signs of breaking down, turning towards darker paths, you cannot let your earlier thoughts about them cloud your judgment when it comes to doing what is right and doing what is safe for those you protect. Do you understand what I'm saying, Testament?
Yes. No matter what happens, all that matters is that I set out to keep the people of this world as safe as possible.
Yes.
Even if...
That is broadly what I am trying to communicate. Specifically, she presses her palms together and looks at you with a kind of grave look, which, given that she is the god of vigilance and looking stern in the first place, is kind of a feat.
Mm-hmm.
You may have preconceptions of others as good people, as just people. testament. Never prevent yourself from challenging those assumptions. Even those once considered reliable or just, they can still find it within them to do terrible things in the future, whether they planned them from the start or not. So it is necessary that we remain vigilant for even the ones around us. Do you understand?
Yes.
She kind of searches your face for a minute to make sure you kind of got the gist.
Remiel is trying to look as focused and, basically giving her like that assessment of just to put it bluntly, just basically saying like, yes, Mom, I understand. I know. But not in in a disrespectful way, but just like getting that assurance to her of just like, I understand the words that you are saying. I am, I'm
Yes, ma'am, I understand you, ma'am.
I am digesting this. Like, I am understanding and just, understand what you want me to do.
Finally, she relaxes a little bit and nods. There will come a time when I am unable to advise you, and in those cases I would pray that you remember these lessons and what we have spoke about. As for this pet project of yours, and she looks back off down towards the arena.
Remiel will also look down again.
The applicants are just now kind of lining up in front of the door into the ring. They are looking up and they are being told that they need to make a show of martial combat before they can be accepted. Being given practice weapons, the like. The choices you have expressed are unorthodox. Are you certain that they are who you wish to bring into the fold?
Remiel sort of takes his eyes from, Actually, no. Remiel keeps his eyes focused on the battle, almost kind of focused in on the fighting. And as he's talking to Vandria, the people I have delegated for... The people I sorry. The people I had delegated for this project, if you wish to call it that, they're people that have the potential to protect others, to have a strong amount of vigilance. And for a place like Shadowbrooke, I think they deserve to have guards that are willing to be vigilant and protect the city with as much heart and determination as... with as much heart and determination as the people that as eh, sorry, lost my train of thought. With as much heart and determination as the people that you look over.
Candidly,
They-
the young one, I can fully understand, though she is rather untested. She seems to have the correct values in mind. The Uthgards and the pirate. I will allow you to attempt this, but I wish to caution you against, well, allowing them to use this position of power and influence for the worse.
Are you presuming that they will take advantage of this power solely because of their background? For who they are? Remiel turns to look at her.
She turns to look at you as well, and she's just kind of got this curious look on her face.
He has this look of just of saying really? You're going to bring up these concerns to me, of all people?
Testament, you were raised by a great hero of the Order. You are talking about a one-armed barbarian and a career pirate who was banished from Luskan. I understand that backgrounds can be quite immaterial when it comes to how appropriate and just someone's actions can be. But do recall a former conversation about the nature of how much effort is too much for the safety of those you protect.
I think that they at least deserve the chance to show that they are willing to do something as to take on this kind of burden. I think anyone that is willing to put forth the effort is able to set their attention and their desires and to shift them to something that is greater than themselves.
The problem here lies in whether or not they are willing to put in the time and effort. If you can convince them to, I leave you to it. I lack jurisdiction over their particular races, so I cannot comment, but my caution remains.
If I may speak freely towards you, my grace.
She very slowly raises an eyebrow.
Whether you give me jurisdiction to take on these sorry. Rephrase that. It matters not whether you give me the jurisdiction of taking on this. Words are hard.
No, go on. I want to hear this.
This is me saying this. Remiel's more confident with his words than I am because I'm just like, wait, how do I say this right?
You literally took a feat that is just be an inspiring orator.
Yeah. Your jurisdiction is not needed for this. I will take this burden on myself, regardless of where you may stand.
I want you to make me a persuasion check.
I don't want to waste this inspiration already.
I will say that you don't have to succeed this.
Okay.
This is purely to see how well she is going to respond to, I don't need your fucking permission. Because she's literally your god. You get kind of an icy look.
Hmm. Everyone deserves a chance. That's where I stand.
She looks off into the middle distance as the fight below you starts drawing a bit more to a close. And she's just staring up towards the sky like, Testament. I am quite literally the god of caution, vigilance, and protection. I have a place in the Seldery, the Elven Pantheon. And I'm a drow. I'm fully aware that those with strange or unusual backgrounds can in fact make excellent protectors of the people. And while it is true that I do not control your earthly actions, I can still provide you with recommendations. I would caution you to remember that. You get another kind of frosty look.
Noted. Remy almost kind of like takes a breath, like in a way, like he kind of just like thinks back to it, like I kind of like just for a second reflects, or just like, oh, I probably shouldn't have said it like that.
Just like that was a bad idea.
Yeah, that little bit of spice is probably not recommended.
Remiel's brain is thrown into the Reddit thread. What's the most high risk, low reward thing you've ever done?
Exactly.
With that being said, I pray that the next few weeks and your attempt to improve the town guard will go well. The fight below draws to a close. One of the young men there has quite clearly trounced his opponent, sweeping the long training sword across the opponent's shins and taking their legs out. originally I brought you here to remind you of your origins, but the reminder of the training routine that goes into becoming a Knight of Vantria will certainly prove useful as well. You are dismissed, Testament.
Thank you, my grace. I won't disappoint you.
You get a sharp nod as the dreamscape begins to grow fuzzy and white around the edges. And soon enough, you wake up in your bed. In kind of a cold sweat, the room is fucking frigid.
Yeah, Remiel, like, just takes a moment. He just, like, sits up,